Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about Mythic Dungeon Invitational, the time trials. The time trials are about to expire, people are getting ready to submit their final scores, the top 8 teams qualify, so the competition is fierce. And we're talking about the rules, we'll be talking about the gear sets they can use, and mainly we'll be talking about the 5-man dungeon compositions that have been they kind of become memes at this point, because there's been a lot of teams that have been running with 4 DPS and 1 tank. Healers are no longer needed in Mythic plus Dungeons. We'll talk about that later on, but first of all, let's look at the Mythic Dungeon Invitational 2018, the time trial. So first of all, the rules. In the tournament round, you will be able to purchase gear from vendors. Those vendors will only sell specific gear, first of all. The gear will scale up to 970. 970 is pretty high. Artifact item level will be 995, close to 1000, so it's pretty high. Artifact power level will be 82. So you have pretty sweet gear. Straight off the bat, you have pretty good gear to choose from. Now, tier sets. You can only get tier 20 or tier 21. You cannot get tier 19. So there are certain classes where tier 20 is still extremely strong, or where tier 20 is not that strong. It might be either way. There is going to be some cheesing to be done with certain tier sets. Trinkets, very important, because there have been some crazy trinkets in the past. In Nighthold, you had Convergence of Fates. In Tomb of Sargeras, you had Umbral Moonglaves, which are extremely strong, especially for melee classes. They're gone. You cannot get them. The only trinkets that you can get is from Antorus and the Mythic plus Dungeons, excluding Violet Hold. You cannot get trinkets from there. So only Antorus and Mythic plus Dungeon trinkets are available, so there's not going to be that many cheesing with Convergence of Fates. That's to keep in mind. So the big objective of time trials is to do 3 dungeons, and they're specific dungeons. Neltharion Slayer 24. Upper Karazhan plus 22, Maw of Souls plus 20, and they have different affixes. And those affixes play a big part in what composition you're gonna go with. What do you bring a healer or not? Like, that's the big part here. So first of all, let's look at some of the dungeons. Let's look at some of the dungeon compositions, some of the keys, what teams decided to go with. So Maw of Souls plus 20. This is a dungeon that actually does not have that many 4 DPS composition or comps going. A lot of the teams have opted in to go with a healer, mainly a Holy Paladin or Resto Druid. Mainly Holy Paladin. Holy Paladins are extremely strong. Both of those healers have a good option for DPS. A big key here is that you want to bring a healer only if it's really necessary. Only if it's really necessary, and I have a feeling that a lot of the teams opt in to use a healer here because of bursting. Because of bursting affix. Bursting affix will give a lot of unavoidable damage. Unavoidable damage means you cannot dodge it or use your super amazing skills to prevent it. So you're gonna need to bring a healer. And Holy Paladin, Resto Druid have really only been the only options. And there's no surprise here. Everyone has been raving about Holy Paladins, Resto Druids in terms of healing, survivability, damage output when opting to use DPS gear, DPS trinkets. You've seen this on streams as well. DPS as a healer is really important. Really important. So more souls. In terms of tanking, it's only been Blood DK. That's it. No surprise, no real big surprise here. I was kind of hoping there's going to be more Vengeance Demon Hunters. There really hasn't, and there's most likely a specific reason for this. In terms of DPS, you'll see that it's kind of a mixture of everything. Windwalkers are nearly used in every single team on every single key. Windwalkers have probably been the strongest DPS in time trials. Probably the strongest DPS. So let's move on to the meme dungeon right now. So that's 22 Upper Karazhan, where basically the top 20, actually there's only one team in top 20 runs for 22 Upper Karazhan which used the healer. Everyone else went in with either 4 or 3 Windwalkers, and insane. It's insane. It's mainly because most likely there's not that much of unavoidable damage, so you can't actually do this without a healer. But it's actually interesting to see that Windwalkers are extremely strong. Again, Death Knights are here, and there's a big reason for this. You have things like the self-sustain of a Blood Decay is absolutely insane. The damage might not be as crazy good as Vengeance Demon Hunter, but a Vengeance Demon Hunter does not provide Empiric Aura. Empiric Aura basically consumption grants 20% leech to you and 4 other allies for 15 seconds. So you get this leech aura, your 4 Windwalker Monks get this leech aura, and you don't need any healing for the next 15 seconds. You don't need anything, you're covered. So you can almost see why Blood Decays have been so strong in time trials, and like that's the only tank that you can actually use. That's the only tank you can use because, again, self-healing is insane. It's the only tank that really truly doesn't need a healer. Like you can almost kind of cover a few other tanks as well. But let's be honest, there's no one going to beat, no other tank is going to beat the self-sustain of a Blood Decay. And Vampiric Aura, really good. Windwalker Monks have been extremely strong since the buffs that have been made to them in the recent months. And they have been the most used class in most of the dungeons. So Windwalker Monks are in a really good position. You also see Affliction Warlocks and things like that, and few Rogues, few Marksmanship Hunters. But besides that, Windwalkers have been extremely insane. So let's look at Neltharion Slayer plus 24. So Neltharion Slayer plus 24 is the highest key. It also has Grievous affix. So I'm like, you got to have a healer for this. You have Grievous. It's a 24 Neltharion Slayer. It's a 45. There's a lot of add damage. It's going to be really hard without a healer. And it's kind of true because most of the groups out of top 20, 19 of those groups end up using a healer. And most likely they end up using a Druid healer, Resto Druid. Not a big surprise. Resto Druid, Holy Paladin. Very strong combo right now in terms of healing Mythic plus dungeons. But there is one group, and the number one, they did the key in 16 minutes and 26 seconds, and they did not use a healer. They end up going with an Affliction Warlock with 2 Havoc Demon Hunters, which have been quite strong actually in this whole time trial period, which is actually interesting to see because Havoc Demon Hunters have kind of lost their competitive edge in the recent months, but they're coming back, which is really interesting to see as well. They use the Rogue as well, but it's a 4 DPS comp on a Grievous affix on a 24 Neltharion Slayer, and they were the number one, which is insane. It's actually really strange. It's actually really impressive to see this happening. At the same time, I feel really sad because as a healer, it's really sad to like. I mean, it must feel pretty bad for all of these teams who are coming in. You're a healer in one of those teams, and like, I can't wait to do really high keys. I can't wait to do them fast. I'm gonna go DPS build as a healer, and your team will be like, no, we don't need a healer for this. Reroll something else. Go start playing Windwalker Monk. Go start playing Havoc Demon Hunter. We don't need you. Go play a role that you did not want to play, but you have to play. You're forced into playing this role because that's the only way to stay competitive. And it's really sad. And I feel it's kind of unfair for a lot of the healers who don't want to swap to DPS. I feel it's kind of unfair. I feel that, first of all, I'm not going to be saying healers are dead for Mythic Plus. Healers are no longer viable. It's silly. Healers are always going to be there. We're looking at the top players in the world who are doing insane tactics. There have been few exploits that I've seen, a couple of streams. There's been exploit with Curator with tank getting all of the stuff on them. Like, I've seen a couple of exploits. I'm not sure how Blizzard is going to target those exploits, but I'm not sure what Blizzard is going to do about this no healer tactic. I feel that the dungeon and affix and whatever should make it mandatory to have one healer. That healer can swap out to do as much damage as possible, start using DPS trinkets, start using DPS legendaries. But actually not having a healer at all is a testament to either DPS class has too much sustain, or the dungeon itself does not have enough damage, or does not put out enough damage. And for me personally, please, I want to hear your comments on this. For me personally, it's really sad to see 4 DPS comps out there, because I feel there should always be a need for a healer, and I feel there should be always need for a healer because there's so much damage happening that might be unavoidable, and you have to bring a healer. So I don't know how Blizzard is going to change this. And another fact that is really interesting as well, if you look at the competition from different regions. So the way it works that you have these 3 dungeons. You have these 3 dungeons at different item level with different key levels, Neltharion Slayer, More Souls, Upper Kazan. your times will be combined for all these 3 dungeons, and the fastest times are gonna go through. The fastest 8 times per region. So if you're in the European region, we've seen this on the last Mythic Dungeon Invitation. If you're in the European region, you'll see that, especially for like 22 Upper Kazan, 9 out of 10 teams are from Europe. There's quite a lot of European competition right now in the keys, and if you actually look at the previous Mythic Dungeon Invitational, where it had a different kind of format, where you had to do 5 dungeons at the highest item level possible, 7 out of 10 of the top 10 teams were European. So if you're like, you know, if you're like the 8th or the 9th, 10 team in Europe, you have a lot of competition. You have to really work hard to actually get through the competition and actually move on to the next stage. Now, it's actually interesting to say that I'm being biased toward Europe. I'm not. These are the statistics. But at the same time, it was a big competition for European teams to get through because the region had a lot of top teams. But at the same time, in the last Mythic Dungeon Invitation, the top 2 teams were from Oceanic servers. We had 3 Marcian, honestly. Which basically means that these, you know, events right now, these early events, don't really mean that much. It's all about the competition, all about keeping your nerve and things like that. But let me know how you feel about this 4 DPS comp. Let me know how you feel about the Blood Decays being so powerful. I feel that Blood Decays, like, I mean, there's always going to be the best tank. Self-healing is insane. Vampiric Core is really strong. Mass Grip and things like that. And then you have Windwalkers, who are just right now are just insane. I was surprised not to see 4 Affliction Warlock teams out there. You have to keep in mind that Affliction Warlock self-sustain has been nerfed quite a bit. So maybe that has affected it. There are quite a few rogues. There are quite a few hunters. Quite a few Havoc Demon Hunters, which I'm really interesting to see. Really interesting to see. The time trials are about to end. There's probably going to be a couple of teams shifting in and out of the competition and things like that. But let me know how you feel about this comp. Let me know how you feel about the 4 DPS. Let me know how you feel about the Blood Decays. I know the balance for Mythic Plus is not insanely good. But you have to keep in mind that balancing Mythic Plus and raid scenarios is really hard. But I still want to see... I don't want to see those 4 DPS teams. I want the healer to be... Healers should always be in dungeons. That's my opinion. Let me know how you feel about this. Leave a comment below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe and all of that stuff. It really helps out the channel, and I'll see you in my next video.